As the journey continues, you reach a crystal clear stream that winds its way through the heart of the forest. The water flows serenely, its surface catching the light like liquid glass. Tiny fish dart beneath the surface, and the rocks below are smooth and worn by years of flowing water. You kneel by the water's edge, your reflection merging with the sky and trees above. The soothing sound of the stream's gentle babbling invites you to dip your hands in, feeling the coolness of nature's touch. Here, the forest speaks to you in whispers, carried on the breeze, offering messages of peace, balance, and connection. The forest was alive with the sounds of nature, and you could feel the earth hum beneath your feet as you journeyed deeper into the heart of the woods. After walking for hours, the air grew cooler, and a soft breeze carried the scent of fresh moss and wildflowers. As the trees parted ahead, the path opened up to reveal a tranquil sight, a crystal-clear stream winding its way through the forest, its surface glittering under the gentle rays of the sun. The water flowed with a serene grace, almost too beautiful to be real. It shimmered like liquid glass, reflecting the surrounding trees and the sky above, as though nature itself had painted the scene with strokes of pure light. The surface was so clear that you could see every pebble and stone beneath, their smooth surfaces shaped over countless years by the persistent pull of the current. As you approached the edge of the stream, the sound of the flowing water grew louder, soothing in its consistency. The gentle rush of the water against the rocks created a melody, a natural symphony that calmed the mind and invigorated the soul. The fish, small and quick, darted beneath the surface with an effortless grace. Their silver bodies flickered like living jewels, occasionally breaking the surface in a playful splash before disappearing back into the depths. The rocks lining the stream were worn smooth, rounded by the steady passage of time and the unceasing flow of the water. You knelt by the bank and reached out a hand to touch the water. It was cool, almost chilled, against your skin. The sensation was refreshing, a sharp contrast to the warmth of the sun still hanging high in the sky. A ripple spread across the surface as your fingers disturbed the water, sending the reflection of the trees and clouds into a gentle dance of light and shadow. Looking around, you saw that the forest seemed to grow denser on both sides, the trees leaning slightly toward the water as if to drink from its crystal depths. The area was peaceful, almost sacred, and you couldn't help but feel as though you had stumbled upon a hidden sanctuary, oasis untouched by time. The beauty of the stream, the purity of the water, the life it sustained, all of it was a reminder of nature's quiet power and its ability to heal, to renew. As you sat by the stream, the sun began its descent, casting long shadows across the forest floor. The sky above, once a soft blue, deepened into a rich shade of purple, the first stars of the evening beginning to appear like tiny diamonds in the vast expanse above. The air grew cooler, and the gentle rustle of leaves in the evening breeze whispered through the trees, a soft invitation to stay a while longer. You took a deep breath, inhaling the crisp, earthy scent of the forest mixed with the fresh, clean aroma of the stream. This was a place where time seemed to slow, where the worries of the world could be left behind, carried away by the flowing water. Here, in this moment, all that mattered was the serenity of the scene, the beauty of the world around you, and the quiet hum of life that pulsed through everything. For a long time you sat there, mesmerized by the crystal stream and the peaceful world it seemed to encapsulate. And as the stars above grew brighter, you realized that this journey, this discovery, was more than just a physical path through the forest. It was a journey inward, a journey to find peace in the quiet places of the world, and perhaps within yourself. The stream was not just a part of the forest. It was a thread connecting all the things you had yet to discover, a path leading you deeper into the heart of the forest, and maybe even deeper into your own heart. The journey had only just begun, and there was much more to be seen, felt, and understood. With a final glance at the stream, you rose to your feet, the cool water still fresh on your fingers. The path ahead was waiting, and with a newfound sense of clarity, you stepped forward, following the stream as it wound deeper into the forest, toward whatever adventure lay ahead. The sound of the stream's gentle rush remained with you as you continued walking alongside its banks, the path narrowing into a winding trail that seemed to beckon you forward. The further you ventured, the more alive the forest seemed to become. Birds with vibrant feathers flitted from tree to tree, their songs a delicate accompaniment to the stream's melody. Even the air felt different, thick with the scent of damp earth and the fresh fragrance of pine and cedar. As the trees began to thin, the landscape opened up to reveal a hidden clearing where the stream spread out into a wide, shimmering pool. The water here was still, like a mirror, reflecting the sky above in perfect symmetry. You stood at the edge of the pool, gazing into its depths, where the light danced and flickered beneath the surface. Tiny ripples formed as a breeze swept through the clearing, disturbing the water just enough to blur the image of the sky. The pool was surrounded by smooth, large stones, their surfaces worn to a soft sheen by centuries of water. Some stones were covered in soft moss, while others were bare, their jagged edges contrasting with the smoothness of the water. It was as though the entire area had been carved by nature itself, a place where the earth and water had come together to create something both delicate and powerful. A sense of peace washed over you as you sat down on one of the stones. The tranquility of the pool, the rhythmic flow of the stream, and the gentle rustling of the leaves in the trees created a feeling of harmony, a rare and fleeting moment of balance that seemed to hold the world in suspension. Here, the forest felt like a living entity, watching over you, guiding you along your journey. As you dipped your hand into the water again, the coolness of it was almost intoxicating. You let your fingers trail through the clear liquid, feeling the small currents beneath your touch. There was something ancient about this place, as if the stream had been flowing here long before you had arrived, long before the first footsteps of humankind had ever touched these lands. It was a reminder of how small you were in the grand tapestry of the world, yet how deeply connected you were to everything around you. A soft voice broke through your reverie. It was faint at first, like a whisper carried on the wind, but then it grew clearer, more distinct. You looked around, searching for the source, but saw nothing. It was as if the voice was coming from the very stream itself. It was a voice without words, a language you couldn't quite understand, but you felt it in your bones. It was a call, an invitation, one that urged you to listen, to understand something deeper than the world that lay before your eyes. Compelled, you rose and made your way to the far side of the pool. The ground beneath your feet was soft with moss, the air growing heavier with each step. The trees on this side were older, their trunks thick and gnarled, their branches reaching out like ancient arms. The light here was dimmer, filtered through a thick canopy of leaves, creating a dappled effect on the forest floor. You felt the presence of something ancient, something powerful, watching over this part of the forest. As you reached the edge of the water, you noticed a series of stones arranged in a semicircle, partially submerged in the pool. They looked as though they had been placed there deliberately, their smooth surfaces polished by the flow of the stream. It was clear that they were part of some ritual, some ancient practice that had long been forgotten. There was an aura around them, an energy that seemed to hum with life. Without fully understanding why, you stepped into the pool, the cool water now rising to your knees. The stones, which had seemed so distant just moments ago, now felt within reach. You placed your hands on one of them, and as you did, a sudden clarity washed over you. It was as though the voice you had heard was no longer a distant whisper, but something you could now grasp with your mind and soul. The connection to the forest, to the water, to the landed, was all intertwined. A living, breathing entity, and you were a part of it. Your heart began to race as the realization struck you. The journey you were on was not just about discovering the world around you. It was about discovering yourself, about reconnecting to the forces of nature and spirit that had been lost for so long. You were being called to remember something ancient, something forgotten by time, but still very much alive in the whispers of the earth. For the first time, you understood the true power of the forest, the stream, and the land. It was not just a place of beauty, it was a place of learning, of healing, and of transformation. The stream, with its crystal clear water and gentle flow, was more than just a physical entity, was a symbol of the flow of life itself, and you had become a part of that flow. With a deep breath, you closed your eyes and let the water rush over your hands. The voice, now clearer than ever, spoke to you again, its message simple but profound. It was a message of trust, of acceptance, and of patience. The journey ahead would not always be easy, but it would be worth it. As long as you trusted the path, as long as you stayed true to yourself, the forest and the stream would guide you toward your destiny. When you opened your eyes, the world felt different, brighter, clearer, and more vibrant. The forest around you seemed to breathe with life, every tree, every leaf, every stone pulsing with energy. You knew that you had only just begun to understand the mysteries of this land, but already you could feel the pull of something greater, something deeper, calling you forward. And so, with a final glance at the crystal stream, you turned and continued your journey, your heart full of the knowledge that the path ahead, however uncertain, was one that you were now ready to walk. The stream would always be there, flowing beside you, reminding you that no matter how winding the road, it was the journey itself that held the true magic. The evening sky deepened into a blanket of indigo, and the first few stars blinked softly above. The air, still crisp and fresh from the day's gentle winds, carried the earthy scent of the forest as it began to cool. The rhythmic sound of the stream remained your constant companion as you continued to walk, leaving the pool behind you. Yet there was a sense of quiet connection now, an invisible thread between you and the land. The path grew narrower once more, snaking through dense undergrowth, where the ferns reached out to touch your legs. The trees, their towering trunks draped in lichen and moss, loomed like silent sentinels, guarding the deeper recesses of the forest. You wondered where the stream was leading, but more than that, you felt a strange compulsion to follow it, like a call that came from deep within the earth itself, urging you to keep moving forward. As the forest thickened around you, the shadows seemed to grow longer, but the path ahead remained illuminated by the soft, ethereal glow of the stream. It had begun to take on an almost mystical quality, the water now flowing faster, carving through the ground with greater force. It was as though the stream was leading you toward something important, yet undefined. Soon you reached a point where the stream widened again. The landscape had shifted, now flanked by towering rock formations that rose steeply from the ground. The sound of rushing water filled the air, growing louder as you approached. In the distance, you could make out the faint glint of something shimmering. You quickened your pace, eager to discover the source of this gleaming light. As you rounded a bend in the path, you found yourself standing at the base of a waterfall, the water cascading down from a height with immense power, creating a mist that kissed your face with cool droplets. The water tumbled over the rocks in a dazzling spray, sending droplets into the air like millions of tiny diamonds catching the fading light. At the base of the waterfall, a small pool had formed, and within it, the water was so clear that you could see all the way to the bottom. The rocks beneath were smooth, their surfaces glistening with moisture. The sound of the waterfall was both thunderous and calming, its power evident in the sheer volume of water that poured down, yet it also possessed a peaceful quality of sound that seemed to wash over you, erasing all thoughts, leaving only the present moment. You stood there for a while, mesmerized by the waterfall's beauty and force. The air was filled with the scent of fresh water and earth, and the mist rose gently, cooling your skin and refreshing your senses. In this place, you felt as though you had stepped into the heart of the forest itself, a place where nature was raw and unfiltered, where the elements came together in a breathtaking display of power and grace. But as you gazed at the waterfall, you noticed something peculiar. The light that danced on the surface of the water was not just the glow of the setting sun, it was something more. The air shimmered, almost imperceptibly, as though the very atmosphere had been infused with something magical, something alive. You blinked, unsure if it was the effect of the fading daylight or something deeper at play. The waterfall, despite its overwhelming presence, held a strange serenity. And as you stood there, a feeling of calmness washed over you, as if the stream, the waterfall, and everything around you were speaking a silent language you had just begun to understand. Suddenly, the voice you had heard earlier, the one from the crystal stream, spoke again. This time, it was not a whisper carried on the wind, but a presence that seemed to emanate from the very rock beneath your feet, from the water that surged beside you. The voice was no longer a distant call, it was inside you, resonating within your heart, your mind, your soul. The journey is not to find the end, the voice murmured, its tone gentle but firm. The journey is to understand the path you are on. The forest, the stream, the waterfall, these are but reflections of the greater journey within. You must listen, trust the flow, trust what is within. You stood in silence, the words sinking into your consciousness. It was as though the forest had been waiting for you to truly hear, waiting for you to embrace the path that lay before you. The waterfall continued to roar, but its sound had transformed. No longer just noise, it was a message, a call to continue, to trust, to learn. For a long moment, you did nothing but listen. You had come so far on this journey, and yet you knew you had only just begun to scratch the surface of its meaning. The mysteries of the forest, of the stream, and of the waterfall were not simply for you to explore. They were guiding you towards something much greater, a truth buried deep within yourself, waiting to be uncovered. You turned away from the waterfall, your steps feeling lighter, the weight of uncertainty now lifted from your shoulders. The forest was no longer just a backdrop for your journey. It had become a part of you, and you, a part of it. Each step you took seemed to be more in tune with the pulse of the earth, more attuned to the rhythm of nature's flow. The path ahead was still shrouded in mystery, the shadows growing deeper as the night began to fall, but you no longer feared what lay beyond. You knew that the stream would guide you, just as it had from the very beginning. The journey, after all, was not about reaching a destination. It was about becoming one with the flow, about listening to the whispers of the world around you, and finding the truth that resided within. And so, with the sound of the waterfall still ringing in your ears, you continued forward, following the stream, following your heart, toward the unknown, with a quiet certainty that you were exactly where you were meant to be.